For the longest time, we've had these really fixed ideas about what it means to be smart. But what if those ideas are just wrong? In this explainer, we're going to dive in and challenge the very definition of intelligence and uncover the surprising truth about how our brains actually focus.
So let's kick things off with a question that might shake things up a bit. We all know about IQ, right? That one little number that's supposed to define how intelligent we are. But what if that whole concept is just fundamentally flawed?
For decades, we've been obsessed with this idea of boiling smart down to just one number. But that's kind of like trying to describe a whole symphony with a single note. It just misses the incredible richness of it all. Luckily, there's a much better way to look at it.
And that brings us to a totally revolutionary theory that really changes the game. Howard Gardner's theory of multiple intelligences. The big idea here isn't about how smart you are, but how you are smart.
So picture this. It's 1983. And this psychologist from Harvard, Howard Gardner, he just drops this bombshell of an idea. He argues that we should totally ditch the concept of a single general intelligence. Instead, he says we all have multiple, pretty much independent types of intelligence.
And here they are. Check this out. The range is incredible, right? You've got the ones we usually think of, like linguistic and logical mathematical, sure. But Gardner's theory also includes musical, bodily kinesthetic, and even naturalist intelligence. It's a whole spectrum of human abilities. Let's zoom in on a couple of these.
Take bodily kinesthetic intelligence. This is all about reframing physical mastery, seeing it for the form of genius it actually is. The insane precision of a surgeon, the grace of a professional dancer, or the split-second coordination of a star athlete. That is absolutely a powerful form of intelligence at work.
And then you've got interpersonal intelligence. This is what we might call people smarts. It's that ability to just read a room, to understand what makes people tick, and to inspire them. It's the smart of a fantastic teacher who knows exactly how to get an idea across, or a leader who can bring a whole team together. It's basically a social superpower.
So here's the bottom line, the most crucial takeaway. Every single one of us has a unique profile of these intelligences. You might be off the charts in a few and still working on others. So it's not about being smart or not smart. It's about understanding your own personal cognitive toolkit.
Okay, so we've established that you have this amazing toolkit of different intelligences. But what's the engine that actually powers them all? What's the thing that lets you pick up one of those tools and actually use it?
Just keep that image in your head. Your mind is like a workshop, and it's filled with all these incredible tools for being smart in different ways.
But, having the tools is one thing. What's the fundamental process going on in your brain that lets you actually reach out, pick one up, and get to work on something?
The answer? It's attention. Plain and simple. Attention is like the gatekeeper for your mind. It decides what gets in and what gets ignored. It's the hand that reaches into your toolkit and pulls out the right tool. It is the engine that drives every single one of your intelligences.
And once you start thinking about attention, you run straight into one of the biggest myths of our modern world, the whole battle between deep focus and multitasking. So let's get into the real science behind it. So your attention basically works in two main ways. On one side, you've got sustained attention. That's your ability to just lock in on a single thing for a long time. That's the key to deep work. On the other side, there's divided attention, which is what we think we're doing when we try to multitask.
Let's break down how real focus works. Think of it like this. Sustained attention is just your raw ability to hold focus. Concentration is the action of actually applying that focus to something specific. And then there's motivation. That's the fuel that keeps the whole engine running. When you really care about something, your ability to concentrate goes through the roof. They all work together in this powerful loop.
All right, now let's talk about the big one, multitasking. It's our attempt to do a bunch of things at once, and it relies on that divided attention we just talked about. We all do it, right? We're texting while we walk, listening to something while we're trying to write an email, but what's really happening in our brains? So when you try to multitask, these parts of your brain just light up like a command center in a crisis. Your prefrontal cortex is frantically switching between tasks. Your parietal cortex is trying to make sense of all the different information coming in. And your anterior cingulate is basically the error checker, trying to keep you from messing up. It is a really, really busy and exhausting operation for your brain.
And this brings us to the single most important thing you need to get about multitasking. It's this: your brain isn't actually doing multiple things at the same time. It's not a parallel processor. It's just switching its focus back and forth between tasks incredibly fast.
And that's the catch. Every single one of those little switches has a price. It costs a fraction of a second and a little bit of mental energy. It might not feel like much from one switch to the next, but over time, those costs add up. And that's why you end up with more mistakes, lower quality work, and you just feel drained. So let's wrap this all up and put it together. We've seen that your intelligence is this really diverse profile of strengths and that your attention is the engine that powers everything. But the big question is, what does this actually mean for you?
Here's what I want you to walk away with. First, your intelligence is not one number. It is your own unique profile. Second, attention is the most precious resource you have for using those strengths. Third, real concentration, that deep work, it comes from sustained attention, not from trying to divide it. And finally, remember that multitasking is a myth. What you're really doing is a high-cost switching game.
Look, this whole framework gives you the power to start working with your brain instead of against it. It's really an invitation to appreciate your own unique intelligences and to be a lot more deliberate about where you point that incredibly precious resource of your attention. So, the final question is for you. Now that you know this, which tool in your own toolkit are you going to focus on and sharpen first?